Well, Errol Lewis, CNN political commentator, and back with us, Shan Wu, CNN legal analyst. Gentlemen, thank you both so much for being with us. Shan, I understand that you believe messaging skills from Cipollone are of value to the president. How so?
Well, I think so. I think this president and his administration very much value the messaging skills. And Cipollone has had some experience in that area, particularly with defamation issues. And when he worked for Attorney General Barr, one of the portfolio areas he had was communications and special projects. And I think that type of ability is going to be very appealing to President Trump, and probably also very appealing to Jay Sekulow and Rudy Giuliani, who at this point have emerged as kind of, although in part last man standing, but they're also very much the orchestrators and strategists behind the special counsel defense at this point. So I think the fact that they also have worked with him, have been advised by him, and they like him a lot, I think that's a very important part of how he's going to play a good role on the team in their view.
Yeah, good point. Now, here's the thing, Errol, Democrats, if they take the midterms, what might that mean for Cipollone, for the president, for the Mueller probe?
What it certainly means is that there's going to be an entirely new look, in some ways a fresh look, in some ways a first look at what has gone on in the White House by the Democrats if they should control the gavel and have the ability to issue subpoenas and demand documents and really do what the Republican-led House never really did, which was to kind of look at what is going on and to ask for the documents that would be logical to sort of piece together what, if anything, went on during the campaign in 2016 regarding Russia. So we're going to have a demand for documents that's going to be like a blizzard. And you can anticipate that the White House counsel's office, which is severely understaffed, by the way, normally at 50, they have about 25 lawyers there now. They're going to have to really come up with a lot of, either come up with the documents or come up with the reasons not to provide the documents, which is an equally difficult task. So it's going to be a blizzard of paperwork descending on that office, and I think that's going to be a big part of what the new White House counsel has to deal with.
Errol, you brought up something that I wanted to ask Shan about next, too, and that is the fact that you've got about half the attorneys in the president's legal team that you normally would have. And with what could be coming, with this influx, how confident are you that the team can handle that?
Not at all confident. I completely agree with Errol, particularly if there's a change in the majority at the elections. They're going to face an enormous onslaught. That is not an enviable position to be in for the new White House counsel, and they really do need to staff up. I mean, the questions or the reasons behind this attrition, you know, there's some different theories, but they're really going to be under an onslaught, and it's probably going to be a good season for white-collar lawyers in D.C. as well.
We know that the president is working on written answers to questions from the Mueller probe, from his team. And I'm wondering, Errol, is there a timeline for the president to submit these, or the president's team to submit these answers?
Completely unclear at this point. All of the information we get about this, keep in mind, is coming from one side, and that's from the White House. The Mueller team has been circumspect and have really been tight as a drum when it comes to letting information leak out. So we don't really know what they're looking for, when they plan to ask for it, when they need to get it. The more interesting game that goes on with this, though, Christy, is whether or not the questions are going to be directed toward the substance of possible Russian collusion or the obstruction after the fact. That's going to really sort of tell the whole story. If it's leaning in the direction of obstruction, which is sort of a live, active kind of legal danger for this president, I think it's going to take a long time to get answers to those questions because it's not in his interest to answer quickly.
Well, and the other question is, regardless of what the questions are, depending on the answers that the president gives, Shan, what does that tell you about whether this is a situation that would prompt then a follow-up conversation that would have to be had?
I think there is that theoretical possibility, but as Errol was saying, they're going to slow roll the responses if there are, in fact, going to be written questions. And Trump's legal team has been working on this strategy for a while. I mean, really since John Dowd. Dowd had proposed the legal questions, possibly leaked them out. And with the written questions, when they're legal questions, the president has the advantage that really it can be carefully vetted and scripted for him. So they'll be very careful in what they actually say, and they'll try and say, frankly, as little as possible. So, of course, it can be a springboard for further questioning, but I think that's going to be a very slow, laborious process. And if this is true, that Mueller is willing to give written questions, I think it reflects his aversion to wanting to force a subpoena and force a Supreme Court or constitutional fight.
Shan Wu, Errol Lewis, so grateful to have you both with us today. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.